You darn right. Here we are, episode 15. Yes, I did my homework beforehand and figured that out to Sports Stalls. And here we are yet again.
Yes, at number 54. And I really, really want to jump in, and I'm speaking for both of us, Josh, because we talked about this. We're
Yep.
in year four,
Yeah.
15 of this year. We have a loyal audience, and number one, I want to thank you, viewers, and I'm getting more comments, more interaction. It has been such a fun year. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us
Yeah.
on.
Absolutely. Before we started this episode, Dad went ahead and informed me we had a whopping 70 views. That is a Sports Dolls record,
Yes.
hands down. 70 views, which I know it's comical to hear, but that is almost doubling our previous personal best.
Well,
So I have a sneaky suspicion that actually, it's not a suspicion. I know Cameron's family tuned in. They absolutely loved it. I know we got Ashley's family tuned in because Cameron was on there. So we got some listeners down in Georgia on last episodes.
well, and then our probably our most loyal, John. I know you jump on it as soon as it rolls out. You're the best, man. So it's cool.
Good old John Hamilton down south. Those southern listeners, they like to tune in, and they show that loyalty, which is wonderful. So yeah, absolutely incredible. Every time I tell people, the more and more people that I tell I have a podcast, and yeah, it's just fun and everything. So who knows who's chiming in new this week? But this week is kind of a impromptu because we're not doing picks this week. We're not doing picks.
Nope. Hang with us.
Yeah, we were talking on the phone a couple days ago, and it just felt like a long lull of, instead of having the weekly episodes and picks, we were kind of chatting about, well, should we do an episode? And if we do an episode, what do we talk about? So thankfully we both said, yeah, let's do one this week. So this is the Sports Dolls discussion episode per se. I have my lovely Angels Envy, my shirt, rocking whiskey and yoga, my lounge chair. So I'm ready to sound smart, Dad. What do you have in your lovely glass?
I have Leon's Kahlua, homemade Kahlua. And with that, I know we're all out of sync, but I'm going to come at us with the intro.
Oh gosh,
right.
Intro us with it.
I'm doing it right now. There.
Damn. I know. I was gonna say, even when it's just you and me, it's still incredible. We still got plenty to talk about, even if we're not talking about picks. And I was gonna say, if you can, let's start with championship weekend. It was a week and a half ago. Cameron was our picker. And not gonna lie, made some moves in the standings. Looky here. Tied with the guest picks, which is always good. Oh, Dad, things did not go your way.
The algorithm is not working with the portal very well. Another reason I'm frustrated with the portal, but we'll get to that.
Yep. But yeah, let's look at that overall. And I stepped my way up to second place. Haven't been there for a while. There's still hope, because just to kind of give a layout here, we have our bowl picks. That'll be next week's episode. and I can make up some points on the guests there. And then we have our playoff and championship episode as well. So I have over 10 picks remaining left in this year to surpass the guests as champions. It's not likely, but it is possible. So just want everyone to know that. Still keep rooting for me, and hopefully my picks are right.
Well, and we're bringing the Doll Boys back together next week. Alex bookends the picks for us, and so we have 8 games, 8 Big Ten games, and that does not include the Michigan game, which, like you said, we're going to wait for doing the title podcast later.
Yeah, but that Alex Dahl, man, you got to book him weeks in advance to get him on the schedule. He is a tough cookie to get on this podcast, let me tell you. Didn't know he comes around, and Victaulic, he doesn't say big dog and Victaulic, and didn't know he had so much going on. But in case you want Alex on your podcast, you got to book him weeks in advance. Even then, it's not a guarantee.
He just got back from Denver. I was trying to guilt him into making a cameo. Didn't happen, but he'll be with us next week. Imagine that. Alex didn't crumble to pressure.
Yeah, he never does. But neither here nor there. No guest pickers, just you and me. I don't even know where to begin. Let's just start about that first championship game that I was watching between Washington and Oregon. Everything that we had hoped it to be, just a neck and neck matchup, tight game. I think that was probably my favorite game.
Yes.
My favorite game all weekend. It was unfortunate that I believe it was on Friday, and I had to catch the highlights the day after because we were at a beautiful wedding in Evanston, Illinois, north of Chicago there. But yeah, that was exciting stuff. Bo Nix and Penix, they battled it out, and unfortunately, Oregon did not pull it off yet again. Last week's episode, I was like, holy cow, it is tough to beat a team that good once, let alone twice in the same season. So I am very, very impressed with Washington. I think they are the real deal.
Yeah, they throttled up. What a super fun game, which college football is about. I mean, Penix versus Nix. It was going back and forth.
Yeah.
It was fun. And Washington stayed undefeated. We'll come back to the undefeated conversation.
You bet. Yeah, I was gonna say, could you imagine if they would have lost, and then you have yet another 12-1 team, 2 new 12-1 teams. Man, that would
it's all hypothetical, I think. Yeah. Well, let's finish the other games that Michigan, shocker. They totally shut down Iowa. Iowa did not have any offense to speak of. Wow, didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, I was gonna say, anyone listening to this episode doesn't have a Christmas gift for me, you can get me an Iowa punter t-shirt. I freaking love that. Alex and I talked on the phone. They legitimately are making Iowa punting. And it's the simplest shirt. It just says punting with an Iowa logo on there. And they have more punting yards than offensive yards this season, which is absolutely incredible. There's another stat about Iowa football and referring to being compared to Caitlin Clark. And I think I want to say it was like 5 games. I'm not exactly, but it was like 5 games. Caitlin Clark had more points in 5 games than the entire Iowa offense had the entirety of their football season. Boy, oh boy.
And they stayed under the total points, the over-under.
0. But the spread did hit. That was, I was the only one who picked Michigan. Harbaugh's back. That was a big pickup late there. And then you have UT, Oklahoma State. Wow, I could not have been more wrong on that pick because Texas just balled out all game long.
It was done in the first half. I mean, they 30 35 points in the first half. They never looked back. They have a very athletic team. Now, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The teams they're facing are going to be better than Oklahoma State. There's no doubt.
Correct. Correct. But they crushed a team that the college football world expected them to crush, even in a conference championship setting, which I feel can even spark an underdog story for sure. But that was impressive. You know, you see a game blown out that much, you're like, wow, my pick was bad. And then moving on to the game. I was gonna say no, Washington, Oregon was the game, but unfortunately, Georgia, Alabama. Wow, that talk about just a heavyweight boxing match, just haymaker punch. Both teams taking them, both teams landing them. Like that game was tough to watch because it was just, oh man, you wanted to cheer for Georgia, but damn, Alabama looked good. Yeah. They looked so good.
Yeah, Milroe did just enough to keep the defense, Georgia's great defense, on their heels. I mean, it was a slugfest, exactly like you said. And you watch the Michigan Iowa game and how the tempo in that game, and then you watch this one, and it's like, ooh, oh
yeah, my. I know it was just, I couldn't believe it. And Georgia still had a chance at the end to win it, but that game was just like, geez, this is a brutal, like exciting, but can you imagine just playing how physical it is between those two teams is just nuts. So unfortunately, Georgia, their first loss in 2 years, and it did not come at a very good time for them, as we know what the playoffs are looking like. And then, I know I was texting Cameron and Devin during the game. I gotta go back. They're not doing well. Not doing well. I would say, Devin, I was wearing my shirt. All right. And for those of you listening, Cameron and Devin, Devin is Cameron's mother, and she is also diehard Georgia fan and alumni. But yes, they're heartbroken. It was a tough game. If you're that big of a Georgia fan, that is a definitely tough game to watch for sure. Kind of watching your team get beat up a little bit, trying to claw their way back. And anytime you got relatively close, Bama just kind of pulls a little further bit away. So yeah, morale isn't high over there in the Southern Zentek family, but they're doing well. They're doing okay. And then, of course, the lovely undefeated Florida State Seminoles winning the ACC title. Yeah, it was a close one, but they had this big white boy on their defensive line he got 2 sacks in the fourth quarter. He's kind of a maniac. I don't know his name, but I was like, dang, like I liked watching that guy. He is definitely a guy you want on your team and scared to go against. But man, Florida State doing what one of 3 teams did, and that is remain undefeated with the conference championship.
Well, and Plummer and Glenn, the 2 quarterbacks, combined for 166 yards passing.
That's right. Defenses are just too good.
And the defenses were good. There's no doubt about it. It just we're getting into the for those of you that haven't figured out, Josh knows this, Alex knows this, Dara, anybody around here, I'm very much a college football purist, and in regular world, I would just be giddy about bowl month, when, the bowl weeks. And college football said, and they would hide behind, and here's my quick analogy, they'd hide behind, oh no, they often said if a team's undefeated, you can't keep them out of the playoff. Okay.
They're in. No one beat them.
And they would say this, look over here, but oh wait, don't look at my hand that's in your pocket taking your money, because we're all about the money. Shame on you, NCAA. You are all about the money. You are all about the money. You are all about the money. There's no doubt about it. You are not going to keep the SEC out of the playoffs, because Texas should have gone. But to me, again, where I started, the purist, Florida being able to go undefeated with their second and their third string quarterback is even more of a testament of what a great team you are.
Correct. Oh, absolutely. So for those who don't know, the college playoff is made up of 4 teams. And right now, after this week of games, number 1 is Michigan. So Georgia was number 1. They lost. They are out of the top 4. We have Michigan moving from 2 to 1, undefeated. We have Washington moving from 3 to number 2, undefeated. And then we have Texas at 12-1 at the number 3 spot. Then you have none other than Alabama at 12-1 at the number 4 spot. Do they even have Florida State at a 5 spot, or did they drop all the way to 6th with a win?
I can see that. Or did they?
I honestly don't know.
Florida State is 5. Thank
goodness, they're the first ones in. But so yeah, you have number 3 Texas 12-1, number 4 Alabama 12-1. So all 4 teams in the playoffs are conference champions. And then you have the undefeated Florida State Seminoles, ACC champions, 13-0 at number 5. They went from number 4 going into championship week, winning the conference championship title, and dropping a spot.
Now, before we get the comments of SEC, please, SEC people, know that it is the premier conference. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying Bama
I'm not knocking
the top 4 team by any means. I'm saying NCAA used to always hang their hat on, if you were undefeated, you were in. That's just
I was gonna say, remember a couple of years ago, it was Central Florida, I believe, or was it Cincinnati? It was one of those smaller schools.
Yeah, it was Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, undefeated, they went to the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay, they're not even in a Cincinnati isn't a Power 5 conference, are they? Are they in the? No, I don't. Are they?
They will be in a Power 5. They aren't. They weren't though.
They weren't. So not even a Power 5 conference, undefeated season, put them in. And then now you have a Power 5 conference champion, undefeated, and the lovely playoff committee has to drop this line of, well, we have to evaluate coaches and players that are available.
Yes.
And what they are saying, this is the one rule they are standing on to support their decision. Players and coaches available at the time to play. So you're telling me the 21 other guys that helped this team, and I'm not even talking about substitutes, I'm just talking absolute starters. You're telling me 21 other guys that made this team undefeated are not good enough because your Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback is hurt. Therefore, 2 one-loss teams get in before you.
It's the total,
Let me
total
make
hypocrisy. Total hypocrisy. I mean, it is all about the money now. You know that Alabama would have been in a New Year's Six bowl game, so they would only earn, what is it now, 4 million in that game for the SEC, whereas being in the playoff they earn 6 million for the SEC, and it pushes everybody down. It's just it's and in the poor, yeah, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's hypocrisy and it's disappointing.
I know. I can't believe it. Now, I was gonna say I'm gonna make a devil's advocate statement here, going, everyone knows I believe Florida State should be in the playoffs. But I was gonna say the teams that are in the playoffs, I was gonna say except for Georgia, because I do think Georgia is an amazing team. They literally just had one loss and they drop out of the playoffs. But those teams for sure are, in my eyes, if I could throw Georgia in this pool, the top teams in the country. I think they will be good games. So now you have Michigan playing Alabama in the first round, and that's going to be another slugfest. And then you're going to have another just absolute high-scoring game shootout between Texas and Washington. Do they match up better? Now, if you put Florida State in there, either at a 3 or a 4, do I think they get beat pretty handedly? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I understand that. But that doesn't exclude them the right to be in that game. So, yes, is the more talented team in there? Yes. I think so. Just because, yeah, they did lose a pretty big stud on their team. But man, I cannot honestly just sit here and be like, yeah, I think they got it right.
Well, and then they came in and then they were hiding behind, the strength of schedule. And again, Bama fans, I'm with you. I'm not pointing this at you. Your schedule was a gauntlet, and it was tough. And I believe in some of them have it rated as the number one schedule. Here's your trivia for you, Josh.
Oh boy.
Which team has the 57th schedule out of 130?
Oh, I'm going to guess. That's in the playoff. Oh, Texas.
No, Texas was up there. They were number 2 or number 3.
Really?
Number 4.
Michigan, just because they only played
Michigan,
Penn State.
57.
Yep.
But
yep.
Oh no, it's strength of schedule. Well, Florida State, they were 40th. Okay.
Wow. I didn't know that information. But
the Big Ten was going to get in. The SEC was going to get in. That's all there was to it. It was going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, it's just, it just sucks. Like, I hate to see that. Like, if I was on that Florida State team, like, yes, I would be excited to play in a bowl game. But man, talk about just an absolute snubbing of the century right now. You literally did nothing wrong. You won every single game. There's only 3 teams in those Power 5 conferences. And and this committee, the playoff committee, I want to see their qualifications, goes, sorry. Yeah, you're right. You did go undefeated. Great job. Not the most difficult of schedule, but not the easiest out of all the teams that could be in the playoffs. Nope. Sorry. Oh, I hate it. I'm sorry for the Florida State
Josh,
fans.
I'm going to come to your hypothetical that we talked about earlier on the phone today.
Oh, yeah. If Oregon beat Washington?
No. The other one, if the field was 12 for this year. Who gets left out if the field of 12? And I have the rankings in front of me.
Yep.
This would have count them, three Big Ten teams in it. I don't know if that's legit or not, but
well, you're saying
Penn State is the playoff committee has Penn State at 10.
Wow, interesting.
And then the SEC has Ole Miss, Missouri, Georgia, and Alabama. So they have 4.
Yep, that makes sense.
Oklahoma gets the last spot, and LSU is bumped out.
Oh man, what was LSU's record this year?
9-3.
Okay, understandable. But then I was gonna say you get Washington, Oregon is in there, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have this conversation next year about who's a 13 seed that should have snuck in there. But that's gonna be a little bit. I'm not gonna feel bad for a 13 seed not getting into the playoff versus a 12 seed.
Right.
No. That sounds insensitive, but the fact that there's an undefeated team out of the playoffs, and there's Georgia is a 12-1 team that also didn't make the playoffs because they lost to Alabama. Like, that is it. That is all it is. That is an amazing team right there. Ohio State, 11-1. They didn't even get a chance to play in a Big Ten championship because of the previous week. But there's another one-loss team. And then this hypothetical, boy, if Oregon would have upset Washington, in my mind, I think if that's the case, Florida State gets in because there's only 2 undefeated teams. No, you have to. Man.
Or do they let Georgia in and bring 2 SEC?
What a royal big FU to Florida State, as if they already hadn't gotten one big rock middle finger by the NCAA. But if you have all these 12-1 teams and Florida State still doesn't get in there and they put Georgia in there, oh man. I almost wish that would have happened, because then not only Florida State would be upset, but looking at that, everything's the same except for Oregon beats Washington, both of which 12-1 teams. So now we have 2. And then we have Alabama, 12-1. Then we have Georgia, 12-1. And now you have to sneak plus Florida State. Bam. You got to sneak those people into 3 spots. Now 2 teams are absolutely getting hung out to dry and screwed over. How do you use that? But man, again, I almost wish that would have happened, like the ultimate doomsday kind of thing. So Georgia not get the playoffs then if that was the case.
So it's happening. It's going to be, we have 2 games, and just looking ahead, we're not getting ahead of ourselves, but Michigan and Bama, that one's going to be an interesting of contrast and styles, big time.
Yes.
Big time.
I was gonna say, I think a evenly style and play matchup and skill matchup will be maybe not necessarily skill. I think Washington may win by 2 touchdowns against Texas.
Washington plays Texas.
That's what I'm saying. Washington and Texas.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Yep.
Well, yeah, Washington. I'm talking Washington, Texas.
Yeah.
Because both of them are, pass heavy, score a lot of points, very skilled athletic players. But I think Washington's defense trumps Texas's defense on that one. I think that, and then going back, I think the Michigan-Alabama game will be very similar to the SEC game. I think it's going to be a slugfest.
Yeah.
It's going to be who can grit it out for 4 quarters. That'll be interesting. Poor Michigan though. Like, oh yeah, like we might get Texas, we might get Florida State. Nope. You get Bama. That would suck. I mean, all 4 of those teams are incredible, but like Bama in the playoffs, I just would never want to play Bama in the playoffs.
So, Josh, in my bad transition, I can't help but notice behind you, is that like a portal window that you can escape if things aren't very good?
That was subtle. That was as smooth as sandpaper on that one. By matter of fact, it is a portal window. Could I sneak out of it? I think in a life and death situation I could.
Yeah.
But speaking of portals, um, interesting year for the transfer portal. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer out there for anyone who's listening and watching. I am listening and learning to what Dad is about to teach us about the college football transfer portal. So I'm in the same boat as you. So if you're coming at me saying Josh doesn't know squat about the transfer portal, it's because I'm about to learn about it, how it functions right here.
Well, Josh, you're
End
not
of dis-
alone. I mean, most fans, you're wrapping your head around it doesn't make sense. And again, going to the football purist, we're in year
Yep.
4, but it kind of
Yep.
started slow. The portal opened October 15th in 2018, and they've modified it. Now they have the portal twice. They have 2 windows, 30-day windows. It started the week after championship week and runs.
Okay.
There's about 2 more weeks left, and then
There
yep,
you go.
and then it opens again in April for another
Okay.
30-day window.
Mhm.
And basically, all you have to do is let your school know that I'm entering the portal, and
Yep.
your name is entered in the system. And then the system, it's kind of like modified free agency between the school and the player. They are finding their way.
So like team, there's got to be on each team, there's got to be like, let's say, University of Minnesota, they have probably designated staff members that are like, all right, check out the portal, see what's out there. Like, this is your job now. See what is available on the portal. And then this software, like, do you think they can like message through the portal? Can they message through the portal?
But it says that the portal is a password protected database accessible through the browser. The NCAA has it, which we know they're trustworthy. They have to use their NCAA ID number, their email, so it aligns with their school,
Yep.
or that they are in school. And then
Right.
from there, the portal is not public accessible. Rather, coaches and administrators have logins to look at the list, and coaches usually only have a view-only access, which they can filter the database based upon what their needs and what the players that seem to fit.
So it doesn't seem like you can communicate through the portal. It's just, hey, search through the portal.
Yep.
Let's see who's out there for offensive linemen. Who can we get who's a D-back that's in the portal? And then obviously in today's technology, so and so from Georgia, the D-back from Georgia is in the portal. Contact him right now. Figure out his cell phone number, which they probably can get in minutes. Get this kid on the horn.
And the one that I find interesting, who selects whom? In many situations, it's like recruiting before college, interested in each other, from the athlete and the team leaders offering the teams commitments and so on. Coaches have to be mindful of their scholarship number, because that's still at 85 when they consider bringing transfers in. Players weigh their chances of playing time and money. Oh, wait, we don't acknowledge. Oh, yeah, we do not acknowledge that now, which they should. I'm not, and again, players, you've been taken advantage of by the NCAA for so long, and you should. Now, most recently, there was a court ruling that the colleges can pay a salary of 30-some thousand to the player. So are they an employee or are they a student?
Ooh, student employee, both of them. not only can we give you scholarship, but we're going to give you spending money. Just thinking back right now, just off that sentence, this is going to be way off topic. Man, if I didn't have to worry about tuition and
Oh,
you're giving me 30 grand in spending money as a college student, oh my gosh, you are living the dream.
well, and Matt
Seriously.
Rule, he in his press conference, and they said they need a quarterback in Nebraska, and he said quarterback's going to cost us $2 million a year at least. A really good quarterback, a top tier quarterback is going to be more than that. Okay,
Well,
where does Nebraska fit in there? Where does Minnesota fit in there? Where does Northwestern fit in there? Because we know where Texas, Alabama, and USC fit in there.
mm, yeah, that's true. And yeah, it seems like the Wild West in there, kind of really does. Just like it's still newer, but I think players are finally figuring out, and like, because the stat was this year, what was there, over 2,000 players entered the portal or something like
Yeah, it
that?
was approaching 2000.
Yeah, the last time when I saw it, it was like 17. It's like 1,700, 1,800 players have entered the portal, as opposed to last year was like just over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
So more and more players are using it clearly. I mean, I don't mind it. I remember growing up, like the process, correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you transferred to a school, it was like you had a year of like ineligibility. Like you couldn't play. Like if I wanted to transfer from Minnesota to Wisconsin and I could not play that season, I would be, the following season.
Yeah. No,
Now it's a lot like the NFL. Like,
they,
all right, bring them on board, start them.
and I got this from Steve Walker when we were talking. He had a really good idea. He said, you get one transfer with no penalty, just jump in the portal and go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you have to sit out a year. So you're still not locked
This
in.
what they do.
Well, no, you can do it multiple times because there's players that have played for 3 different teams now.
Right. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. And then the place, and we talked about this earlier, Ohio State, a touchdown or so away from playing in the Big Ten championship and probably
beating Iowa. Yeah, being in the playoff.
And I know there's some Kyle McCord frustrated people in Ohio State, but he was on an 11-1 team. He jumps in the portal. It's just
that's the crazy part. Yeah, that part is amazing. Like to have, because that was his first year starting, and boy, you had a lot of success.
Mm-hmm.
Not as pretty as maybe they had imagined it, but success for sure. Yeah, I wish I could just pick his brain. Like, why do you want to transfer? Do you not like, the coaching? Do you not like the players? You're losing Marvin Harrison Jr. So he's like, yeah, I'm out. I don't want him anymore. He's gone. But yeah, that's just a crazy, crazy concept that so many players are just. And now
so here's the end of my. I'll wrap up my rant. College football has fully put a badge on their shirt. We are in it for a business. It disappoints me. There's no loyalty anymore. There's no school loyalty. And then on top of it, high school recruits are getting screwed because if I'm a coach, statistics show if I put a transfer student that has played college football in, more often than not, that student athlete is going to do better than the growing pains of a high school player coming, an 18-year-old coming right from high school.
Yeah, so that is true.
It's really punch the game in the gut, and it's disappointing.
No, it's changing. That's all it is, plain simple. It is completely changed, even in the last 10 years from, remember when they introduced the playoffs, you're like, this is crazy. Like there's no college football playoff. Like it's the bowl games. It's the BCS bowls, and that's it. Bam, you're in. Like that's awesome. It's conferences champions versus conference championships. Well, now the playoffs have been around for a long time, and it's kind of awesome.
Nope.
And now they're running into these problems of, man, we're not getting the best of the best because we're leaving 1 to 2 of the best teams out that clearly should be there. Okay, great. Boom. Expand it. 12. 12 is a good number. I don't mind that at all. But yeah, and then again with this transfer portal, like this wasn't a thing 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It didn't exist.
I can't imagine. Let's look at PJ Fleck. They're the only team that got to a bowl without 6 wins because of they were the next highest qualified, and in regular world, you'd use these extra practices to build, it's like, okay, it's our last team event, but wait a minute, you have commitment day coming up. You have people jumping the portal on your team. You have people you want to recruit on your team, and you still have to prepare for the team you're playing in Detroit.
For a football
game.
Yeah, it's very, very different. I can't imagine what it'd be like. It'd be interesting to talk to the coaches like, hey, like how's coaching changed? Like, how have you been adjusting to all of this? Like 5 years ago, you made a bowl, you were psyched. And guess what? You have a full month to just heal up, rest up, practice, prepare, just team, everything like that. And now they're recruiting, they're worrying about players not playing in the bowl game. Like it just kind of takes, as you said in the beginning of the podcast, it takes away the excitement of the bowls. Because now people are not only like, the classic Christian McCaffrey didn't play in his bowl game because he was worried about getting injured and going to the NFL. Now, granted, at the time, I thought that was stupid. But clearly, I don't know him, and he's made a pretty good NFL career. But now people are going to sit out of bowl games probably because they don't want to be in that school anymore. Why would I get hurt in this game for a school that I don't even want to play for anymore? That's got to be a coach's nightmare. That sucks.
Well, and you and I and Alex lived it. And, when we went to the Citrus Bowl and we saw Missouri and Minnesota play, and both coaches were just, they were both 8-4. And they were both looking at it like, okay, this is the last chance this group gets to play together. And it was like, okay, this is it for the seniors. That loyalty is totally gone. And I am very curious what the bowl games are going to be like. And I am very nervous for our picks for our next week, because who knows?
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. It's like, it's a shot in the dark. But it is a changing business now, that old NCAA. Oh God, my hair looks awful. Couldn't get an episode in without talking about my hair. I got to put a cap.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. But needless to say,
I'm sure the NCAA, after they watch this, they'll be contacting us to get our input to fix this.
Right. What would you do to make it better?
Mm-hmm.
I would stand by my statement of stand by my statement of getting undefeated teams in there. But hey, my phone, I'm ready. I am ready. I'll take it off silent. I'll let my generic ringing cell phone go off, because that NCAA is like, man, that Josh, he's got good head of hair.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of good points. He has zero business background whatsoever. But he seems like a genuine guy. We should get him. Put me on the playoff committee. Man, I don't see why not. I root for underdogs, but fair is fair. If you're good, you deserve to go in there. If you don't lose, you'll get in there. Vote for Josh. And if you go undefeated, you will be in the college playoff. Mark my words.
John, I know you made it to this point of the podcast. Anybody else that made it this far and listened to, I'm not going to apologize because we're being honest, but we have two pretty positive people that got grumpy today.
Yeah. I was going to say, and people are going to be like, you didn't really get grumpy. I'm like, exactly. This is the grumpiest, most kind of fumed I get about college sports like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people, if they comment, if they agree or disagree. I don't know. I don't look at the comments, but Dean will share them with me if you do.
Yeah, we'll see if we tap into that SEC. Again, we're not SEC haters. We're just with the NCAA. It's a business, but it's not. But we've covered all that, and thank you for making it this long. Oh my gosh! Wow!
Absolutely. What an episode. Not a single pick was made, but hey, I'm glad we did tonight because for those of you listening, this is what our phone conversations are like sometimes. And we'd be talking on the phone. We're like, man, I got to stop talking because we got to talk about this on the podcast. So this is just a glimpse into the life of our phone conversations that happen on a weekly basis. So if you love it, or you're just like, man, those guys need something else in their life, who knows? But I'm glad we did this episode. Throw something out there. It's been 2 weeks since our last episode. But this was good. As always fun with you, Dad.
And I couldn't agree more. Next week, Alex is back. So we have the Doll Boys. We're going to do a playoff episode. So we have 2 more NCAA. And we have a treat that we're excited about that's coming down the road with NFL playoff picks. And we'll let you know more about that coming up down the road. So there's more to come.
Yeah, a lot more sports dolls to come. We got plenty of episodes. We got to get through this college season first of all, and next week we'll get our bowl picks in. So I'm excited for that, and make my way to the championship and beating the guests. But who knows?
Well, let's wrap this thing up.
Wrap it up. I was thinking, I'm like, do we wrap it up? Of course we wrap it up the same way. We'll bring it in here. Sports Dolls on 3. 1, 2, 3. Sports Dolls. Whoa.